Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Bills are 2-0 in their last two games against the New England Patriots without Tom Brady. Since 2007, actually, when Brady tore his ACL and Matt Castle played quarterback for the Patriots. Anyway, the first of those meetings would have been in 2016 when Brady was suspended for Deflategate. The Bills went to Foxborough. They shut out the Patriots 16-0, then quarterbacked by Jacoby Brissett. The second meeting, of course, this past Sunday. Tom Brady obviously gone, Cam Newton in for the Patriots, and the Bills, for the first time since 2011, win against New England at home, 24-21. This improves the Bills to 6-2 overall, 4-0 in the AFC East. They are now a heavy favorite to take the AFC East as New England falls to 2-5. We are halfway through the season, and New England is 3 games behind the Bills in the loss column. That is huge. New England's third in the division now because Miami, after going to Tua, much to their credit, defeat the Rams. They're now 4-3. However, Miami is 1-2 in the division, including a loss to the Bills. So Miami, at the very best, can tie the Bills in division record, and they would have to beat the Jets, Patriots, and Bills again to improve to 4-2. The Bills would have to lose to Miami and to New England to fall to 4-2 in order to create that tiebreaker. They would also obviously have to tie in terms of record as well. But the Bills are in a great position. They are now a heavy favorite to take the division, to get a home playoff game here in Buffalo for the first time since, I believe, Jacksonville in 1996. And Jim Kelly was still on the team at that point. He did not play in that game, of course, but he was still on the team. But here we are. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. That's just a quick little upkeep on the division there. We'll keep looking at that as the weeks progress here. But the Bills beat New England 24-21. Do you feel liberated in a sense? Do you feel like you've sort of absolved yourself, some absolution from New England? I don't know if we're ready to go that far just yet, because as we were watching this game, especially towards the end of it, of course, it sort of felt like, well, I've seen this movie a million times before, right? I mean, both teams throughout the course of the game were really pretty even. Check out these team stats. These are the team stats. First downs, Buffalo 22, New England 20. Rushing yards, Buffalo 190, New England 188. Net passing yards, this includes sacks, Buffalo 149, New England 161. Total yards, Buffalo 339, New England 349. Turnovers, 1 each. Penalties, 5 each. 35 yards for New England, 30 yards for Buffalo. Third down conversions, Buffalo 5 of 11, New England 5 of 10. Time of possession was 46 seconds off of being completely even. So it was, relatively even. The game was relatively even. And the one thing I'm going to sort of revert and sort of call back to, as I might have talked about last week, is this desire for the fans, for the Bills to run the football. We need to establish the run, guys. I don't know why fans are so married to this idea that you have to run the ball and you have to stop the run. It couldn't be further from the truth. Of course it helps. Of course it helps you to be good at certain aspects of stopping offenses. But it doesn't necessarily make you a good team. The Bills, to their credit, did they stop the run really on Sunday? No. Damian Harris, 16 for 102, especially in the second half. He really went off. Cam added 54 yards. Burke had another 26. But they finally get some run out of Singletary and Zach Moss. Singletary 14 for 86, Zach Moss 14 for 81, 2 touchdowns. Obviously his best game since coming into the league, his most touches as well, and most total yards. So they get 167 rushing yards from their running backs. They add 23 with Josh Allen, and what did they get? Almost beat. They got into a close game with New England because they really didn't throw the ball. And weather might have played a factor. I hate making excuses like that, but Josh only goes 11 of 18 for 154. The Bills seemed pretty content on just running the football because it was working. And to their credit, it was working. A lot of credit going to John Feliciano. He comes back in, and the Bills look like they can run the ball very well. Mitch Morse goes out on the third play of the game, something like that, and Ryan Bates comes in and they leads them to a touchdown drive, but the Bills end up going to Feliciano at center, put Butker and Winters at the guards instead of keeping, Feliciano at the guard and Bates at center. And well, it didn't hurt them. It didn't hurt them in the running game at all. We'll see if that continues this week. Cody Ford was limited in practice. I don't know if he's going to be ready to come back, but if Morse, who is not practicing this week, is still out with a concussion, he's got a concussion history, so that's really not good for him in the long run. I don't know. I don't even want to speculate on how long it'll keep him out, but we'll see what happens there. Does Feliciano stay at center? I mean, Morse, you're going to have to assume is out this week, like I said. So Feliciano probably at center again, and then Ford goes to left guard, and Winter stays at right guard, maybe. That's probably what you're going to get. And maybe the Bills are thinking ahead. Maybe that's why Bates came out. Josh and John Feliciano have a very good relationship. Allen even talked about this in the postgame. They're very close off the field. I think they hang out a lot. If you follow John Feliciano on Twitch, he streams with Josh Allen. I don't want to say regularly, but Josh will drop into his stream from time to time, and they'll play Fortnite and Warzone and things like that. So they're very close off the field, and I think that type of stuff definitely translates on the field. I think good, working. It's better to have good friendly relationships than just good working relationships. And I'm sorry, I didn't really mean to go off on a tangent, on that mini tangent there, but I don't know if the Bills are going to run the football super successfully this week, or if that is going to be in their game plan to stop the Seahawks. I guess I'll sort of transition here to the Seahawks. I don't want to skip past what happened there at the end of the Patriots game, and I'll come back to that. But I mean, they're in deep against the Seahawks. I mean, Russell Wilson is playing completely out of his mind. They haven't been very good on defense overall. They've allowed 500 yards of total offense 3 times, and they have allowed at least 449 yards 5 out of 7 games. They allowed 415 to Miami, and this past week against San Francisco was their lowest yardage total allowed of the season, 351. So what's been working for them? They've been scoring a ton of points with Russell Wilson. He's got 26 touchdown passes through only 7 games into the season. So he's on pace for 50 plus. They have forced 14 turnovers, including 9 interceptions. Like, that is, you're just getting those extra possessions for your quarterback who's playing out of his mind already is obviously beneficial. They're still playing close games, with the exception of Atlanta. They've played mostly one-score games. Atlanta week 1, obviously, and so have the Bills. So that's why I would expect this game to be pretty close. I mean, they beat Atlanta 38-25. This is Seattle. They nearly lost to New England on the last play of the game. They beat the Cowboys by 7, the Dolphins by 8, the Vikings by 1, a game that they really probably should have lost. It just, things work out for Seattle, I guess. And then they lose to Arizona in overtime, and they beat San Francisco by 10, but that wasn't as close as I think we're, a 10-point game is like, oh, maybe they were in it. San Francisco they led in the first quarter, but I don't think they were ever necessarily in it, so to speak. But, Russell Wilson has, like I said, 26 touchdowns. He is on pace for maybe his most interceptions of his career, but he's only got 6. So even if he gets to 12 or 13, I don't think the Seahawks really care all that much, because he is just lighting it up. Going to Tyler Lockett, who has 7 touchdowns. Granted, 6 of them came in 2 games. They came against, I believe it was Arizona, in the Arizona overtime game, and then Dallas. He scored 3 touchdowns against Dallas. But, I'm not really going to read into that too much. And then obviously DK Metcalf in his second year has turned into just a chunk play type of guy. I mean, he's averaging almost 19 yards per reception. He has 7 touchdowns himself. So, he only has 36 catches, and he leads the team in yardage with 680. Like I said, that's just a shade under 19 yards per reception. The benefit that you might say, and this is where I'll kind of transition back to the Bills a little bit, is that they don't really, they run the ball pretty well with Chris Carson, but it doesn't look like Chris Carson is going to play. He is going to be highly questionable. I'd say a game-time decision at best. He's obviously their leading rusher. Carlos Hyde looking like that as well. So they're going to be left with DJ Dallas and Travis Homer. Now, Russell Wilson can obviously add a couple rushing yards himself. He's gone for, I think his season high is 84 this year. He's running more than he has a little bit in years past. This whole let Russ cook thing is taken off, and he's probably going to win the MVP, you know. But they're probably not much of a threat to beat you on the ground, is my point. So, what are the Bills going to do? Are they going to come in with that strategy that they came in with against Kansas City? Just don't allow chunk plays, and maybe kind of force them to run the ball on you? You could, but I feel like Seattle so far has been just the antidote to everything. They're going to throw on you, regardless, whether you want them to or not. You can game plan this, you can game plan that. They're going to get their points, and so the Bills better be ready to throw the ball. I know that they have struggled against the run. Of course, they've struggled against the run. They are, maybe, I don't know, a lot of people want to point to Starla Tulele. Maybe that's a thing. They might have a linebacker issue. Milano's playing part-time. Looks like Milano maybe even had a little bit of a setback with his pec. He's not practicing this week. So, having him out of the lineup certainly doesn't help, and him only playing third downs. And, A.J. Klein has not been great for the Bills thus far. Tremaine Edmonds, you could make the argument, has not really been great for the Bills. He's been there. I mean, he's a big guy in the middle of the field. He's making tackles, but a lot of times leading the team in tackles is like Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, who hopefully the Bills get back this week. Looks like Hyde will be good to go. But those defensive tackles of the Bills, like Vernon Butler and Ed Oliver, who's been a little bit disappointing in his second season, and Harrison Phillips and Justin Zimmer, who obviously made a tremendous play against Cam Newton to strip that fumble, and the Bills come out victorious. There's a little bit of luck that goes into that. I think he meant to strip that fumble, but if you watch it, they show the overhead angle. Cam almost grabs it, right? He has it right here and kind of pulls it, and it just bounces, and Marlowe just happens to be there. Heads up play all around. Great job. That doesn't mean they weren't about to go in for the game-winning touchdown on you. And like I said about the defensive tackles, they're getting pushed back, and that affects linebacker play. You saw a couple maybe of the all-22s or some of the footage, of the film footage, whatever, same thing, of the Bills' defensive line just getting pushed back. That obviously affects linebacker play because you don't have these clear paths to fill the holes and the gaps. You see guys, if your line holds, you'll see things open up and you can run to it. You can, read the play better if you're Tremaine Edmonds. If your defensive tackle is getting pushed back into your face, it's not going to be as easy for you to maybe maneuver around them, to identify the holes, to fill the holes, etc. And that's, does it sound like an excuse? Maybe. I don't know. They just need better play from the front seven all around, because I think that is why you haven't seen an interception really from Trey White, Micah Hyde, or Jordan Poyer. And they have a ton of interceptions, 30-plus interceptions, I think I saw, 31 in their first 3 seasons under McDermott. And they haven't had that type of success this year. And I think that is a trickle-down, a domino effect from what is happening up front. The Bills are doing a decent job getting pressure, but not a great job getting sacks. And against the run, they've been pretty poor. So naturally, corners aren't maybe taking chances. Trey White is not in position to get maybe as many interceptions because they have to maybe let Hyde and Poyer and Trey play a little bit more conservatively. And I understand that from a defensive perspective. My entire thing, and as I wrap this up here in the final minute, is just throw the ball on offense. The Seahawks are doing it. Just, you think you're good at it. I know Josh has maybe been in the past 4 weeks, not as good as he was in the first 4 weeks, but I think that is still there. That's there. I know that he has been a little less accurate on passes down or 10-plus yards in the air and everything, but I think that he is taking the underneath stuff with Beasley a little bit better. We didn't really see much of it this past week. I'm just not sure that they're ready to go blow for blow with Seattle. So I'm going to pick Seattle to beat the Bills on Sunday. I think it's going to be high scoring. I'm going to say 34-27. Seattle struggles on defense, the Bills struggle on defense, and Seattle does not struggle on offense. Anyway, guys, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know how you're feeling about the division, about this week. In terms of this week, in terms of tiebreakers and whatnot, this game really doesn't mean all that much, but hit me up on Twitter. My YouTube handle and my Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. Enjoy your weekend, guys. As always, above all else, go Bills.